What is happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Mile High on Broad podcast. We got a fun little episode for you guys today, so hope you guys are ready. We're going to be talking about the dumbest teams in the NFL. And this just kind of came up this week with free agency going on, and we're watching some of the moves out there. And Mike and I were talking, and who are the dumbest teams out there? And these are the teams that just repeatedly seem to make decisions that hold them back. And no matter what they do, they can't seem to get out of their own damn way. So that they can become contender teams. And we all know who they are, right? There have been some of the same teams throughout history that you just know these teams are going to be horrible, right? And like, I mean, just off the top of my head, right? The Lions are in that bucket, the Browns are in that bucket, the Jags have been in that bucket. I mean, these are teams that, no matter what they've done for decades, they have just been horrible. And look, every team has its ups and its downs and it rebuilds, but these teams for decades upon decades have just been absolute garbage. And every time they make a move, you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. It's not going to help you. And it just comes back to bite them in the long run. And look, sometimes teams make some changes, right? Look, the Jags look like they've making finally look like they're actually going to put a decent product on the field.
They won a
Um,
playoff game this year.
they did, and look, Trevor Lawrence, they got some more weapons. I mean, I think they're going to win that division this year. So, look, I'm not saying you're always going to be a dumb team, right? Things can change, right? Like maybe you get some new head office guys, maybe ownership decides to shut their mouth and stop listening, you know, and that'll help. Look at the Lions. I think the Lions are going to be pretty good this year too, right? They went through decades now. The Browns, people thought they were not going to be crap again, and then they decided to give a fully guaranteed contract to a guy who doesn't look like he remembers how to play football. And once again, they're garbage again and probably the worst team in that division. And so just continue. So I'm sitting here and I'm going, who are the worst teams this year? Watching some of these moves that are just killing me. And man, this team's probably been in that bucket before, but the Jets. Can we
Yep.
talk about the Jets for a minute?
Jets, 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 Jets.
I mean, this is a team that last year looked like they were moving in the right direction, right? They
Yep.
had some injuries, some running back problems. They're pretty young. Obviously, Zach Wilson was an absolute bust at quarterback. Mike
Long
White
bad.
got hurt. So we knew that there was obviously a major question at quarterback. And now I look at this team and I go, they're going to be horrible. And they're going to be horrible for a long time. And they're making moves that are not only going to hold them back, but I think it could ultimately put them farther back than they ever were before. I mean, what is going on with this team?
Yeah, no, I don't get this, man. So reports are out now. Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show. He says that he plans on playing for the Jets next year. All right, cool. So congratulations, Jets. You now have probably the best quarterback that you've had since Chad Pennington in the early 2000s. I mean, and if you think, Rodgers is even going to be playing better than that, I mean, maybe it's your best quarterback since I don't even know when, maybe ever. Um, but look, man, these list of demands that Rodgers is demanding for are just they're stupid. They're dumb. I don't get it. Wasn't part of Rodgers' problem in Green Bay is the fact that he didn't really have great weapons. Yet he's asking for like three-quarters of that team again, right? Like I don't get it. Like, fine, he's asking for OBJ. I get it. I don't know how good or bad he's going to be. Fine, I don't have a big issue with that. Alan Lazard, okay. Randall Cobb was a non-factor last year, and Mercedes Lewis is almost 40. Like, and he's a blocking tight end. I don't get it. Help me out, Ben. Help me out. I don't
I
get that.
I gotta be honest with you. Every time I see that Mercedes Lewis is still in the NFL, I have to second guess because I think he's retired for like 5 years.
No.
And somehow he's still in the NFL. Look, here's what I don't understand with we're not even talking about the compensation they're about to have to get for Rodgers. And when the first discussions were like they need a quarterback, they might go after Rodgers. Like I said from the get go that that's where he was going to end up. Like you guys
Sure.
remember a few weeks ago we had that discussion, and I said, look, this is where the dude's going to end up because they're the ones who are going to pay the price for him.
Yep.
And at the time, I was like, look, like I don't think he has that many years left. I mean, he's getting up there, but you get 2 or 3 years of even a subpar Aaron Rodgers is still better than
Well,
the
best
vast
quarterback.
majority of the. But and you're going to give up a ton for him. Yeah, it's probably a Jet thing to do, but I don't have a lot of room to talk. We gave up for Russ, right? But when they started making the moves that they're making for this demand list, I mean, that's when I said, what the fuck are they doing? I mean, this team has solid young pieces. I mean, Garrett Wilson was the offensive rookie of the year wide receiver. Elijah Moore is a great young wide receiver who got pissed last year. I get it, but that's because, Zach Wilson couldn't hit the broadside of a fucking barn if he was standing on it, right? I mean, like,
Nope.
the dude is horrible. And so, of course, the dude's pissed. And now you're going to tell me you're bringing in Alan Lazard, which they did, okay? And I can only imagine that they've already reached out to these other guys, too. Where does Lazard fall on this fucking list? Like, are you telling me you're going to start him now over the offensive rookie of the year? You're going to start
Nope.
him over Elijah Moore, who's a young up and coming talent, to start a guy who, for his entire career with Aaron Rodgers, has been mediocre at best. I mean,
He's been like a 600, 700, 800 yard receiver at max. You're telling me that Elijah Moore doesn't have more potential than that?
he did his
Right.
first year in the league. So yeah, he can do that, right?
Yeah.
He also hasn't had a quarterback, and you had Aaron Rodgers. Like, so I mean, so you go out and sign Hackett, which is dumb because this guy clearly proved he can't handle anything. All right, when he was in Denver, that offense was atrocious. All right, and he wasn't the OC. Like, that was LaFleur's offense. He stood there and held a clipboard, so it doesn't count when he was in Green Bay. All right, so you hire an offensive coordinator with a defensive head coach because he's Rodgers' buddy. We get it. You're going after Rodgers. I think it's stupid, but whatever. Maybe it works out for you, right? But now you're bringing in dudes to play over guys that are clearly way better than because Rodgers wants it.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, who in the head office is like, hey, this makes sense to us, right? We're going to be a bunch of worse players in to play over good players for a quarterback that's going to cost us probably 3 years of this team's future, who's going to play for another, 1 year? He would have retired this year, I think, if it wasn't for Brady and JJ retiring, because that dude doesn't want to be number 3 on the Hall of Fame ballot box. So he's going to play one more year. Maybe you get 2. All right. And then what? And then he's out, and now you're stuck with, what was it, a 3-year, 33 million, 4-year, $44 million. I mean, they're stuck with Lazard for the next 3 or 4 years. I mean, why?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get this. Like, and even more with the things that we're talking about, right? Like, if they go out and get OBJ, that's another receiver that you're going to push down. Because I mean, you don't go out and get OBJ and Lazard that money that you just gave them to not start them. So it means you're now putting at least one of your young wide receivers on the back burner, which is going to stall their growth, right? He wants them to go out and get Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb hasn't been good in like 4 years, man. Like, I don't know what world Aaron Rodgers is living in. He did this. He had an issue a couple of years ago when Jordy Nelson was let go from the Packers, and he was like, "Oh, that's my boy. That's White Lightning. Why would they let him go? He still has so much left in the tank." He played one more year with the Raiders and retired. He didn't have anything left in the tank. Aaron Rodgers is just like, he's just trying to sign his buddies. I don't get it. It feels like this is just kind of essentially like a retirement home kind of a thing. Like, he's just trying to have one last hurrah with all of his friends. For the life of me, man, I don't understand that these moves that he wants to make. And what's also annoying is Aaron Rodgers is a super manipulative person. And so he knows that all this has been going out or around, right? Like, he heard that all these rumors of, oh, my list of demands. And he went on the Pat McAfee show. He basically poo-pooed all of it. He said, that's not how business works. That's not how these kinds of things go, right? Like, you think I just went into the Jets front office and told them that, hey, here's 6 players that I want, and you go get them or else I'm not playing? Yes, that is exactly what I think happened. I think you basically told them, either you sign these 6 guys or however many guys that it is, or I'm not playing, or I'm going to retire. And when they start making these moves, then he goes, okay, cool. They're making these moves. They're clearly going to get my guys. Now I'm going to play for you guys. That's clearly what happened, Aaron. I don't care what you try to say otherwise. Like, you clearly went in there, told them, I want these guys, or I'm not playing.
That's
as simple as that.
I just looked. It's a 4-year, $44 million deal they gave Lazard, which
Too
is
much.
stupid amount of money. Not only is he not that good, he's older, but like, you have 2 great wide receivers already. Like, and you're a run first team. Like, you have Breece Hall, you had a defensive head coach. This team is not going 4 wide spread. All right. No. So, like, it's just dumb. And I hate everything about it. I hate that the Jets do that. Like, I hated when Cleveland gave that contract to Deshaun, because it just signifies a team that's so stupid and can't get out of their own way that they have to try and reinvent the way the NFL has done things forever. The NFL is king for a reason, because they understand how to do things, right? They're the They don't run contracts like every other sport, which is why they have the control that they do. And look, you want to argue, oh, I wish they got more money, blah blah blah. These guys get paid if they're good, and if they suck, they don't get paid, right? And that can be a debate for another time. But when you go out and give a fully guaranteed contract to somebody, you change the way it's always been done, and it comes back like this is the stuff. It's the same thing to me, the Jets, this is the same shit that happens in the NBA now, where a bunch of dudes go, "I want to go play together," and they fuck up a team to come there. The difference is that on an NBA team, you got 5 dudes, and on this team, you got 53. You now have to appease. All right, you already had problems with Elijah Moore getting pissed because he had to deal with Zach Wilson last year. What do you think's going to happen when you bring in Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't like working with wing receivers?
Nope.
Whatever you want, right? You wanted to get anyway. Now you're going to bring in OBJ for what? You're going to give him. I know he's not signing for 1 year, so you're going to give him what 2-3 years. You're going to pay him enough money. You have to start him. So now you are going to start OBJ and Alan Lazard, and you're going to rotate like Elijah. What are you going to trade him? Is he just going to sit on the bench because you know the dude's not going to be happy?
Yeah,
So
and his
already
trade
proved he's
value
going to
can't
mention.
turn high right now.
It's already said he's going to put him back. But if you were going to do that, why weren't you? Why were you going to move him now? Like, why wouldn't you move him before all this other stuff starts happening? Like, you're going to wait to the point when it's not worth making that move anymore. What are you going to do with Garrett Wilson? Are you going to try and move him because you really
Oh
think that
God.
Garrett Wilson needs to be the
Oh
number 3 on
God.
that team? I mean, like, this is the stupidity of a team that. And look, I watched the Jets last year, and I said, look, they're not there, but they're on their way, right? This is a team that looks like they're making moves in the right direction.
It looked
Not
like
all
they
if
were a
I'm
quarterback away from being a real contender.
Dude, it wasn't that I was sold on Robert Saleh, but I'm like, look, before Brees Hall went down, this team was winning games.
Mhm.
Clearly they need a quarterback. They've had issues there, but like if they got a half decent quarterback, man, like, and I get it. You sold all in for Aaron Rodgers, blah blah. But I wasn't even willing to say they were dumb for getting Rodgers.
No,
I don't
not at all.
I don't think that makes them a contender, but I wasn't ready to throw them away for doing that.
It
I
makes
wait.
them
Let's
playoff relevant at
yeah,
least.
let's see what you gave up. But now you're telling me that you're going to completely destroy your young roster for a guy that you don't know how long is going to play for you to go up against Buffalo, New England, and Miami twice a year, and then you are going to come out of it, right? Because that's how I look at this. That's how you know a team's dumb when they have no regard for what's going to happen in the future. Like I know because Denver never had back-to-back losing seasons with an owner that knew what he was doing, all right? Because there was always focus on what's coming. All right. I think the Patriots make a ton of really stupid decisions. Like, for example, having great running backs on their team and then going out and signing a guy who just, tore up his Achilles and clearly hasn't been that good, right? Well, you have running backs, but with Bill Belichick and Brady, they won all this. Why? Because they were able to put something together and they thought long term. Bill's known for cutting people before, it was
Yeah.
too late.
A year too early,
But
not a
he's
year too
thinking about the future, right? So that to me signifies teams that are good. Look, Denver 8 years, but they haven't had an ownership for the 8 years this team has had a losing horrible record, right? When you don't have that, so when I look at the Jets, I go, here's a team that wants to be good so bad that they're not even going to focus on the future. They think that they're better than they are, and not only do they think they're better than they are, but the reason that they think they're better than they are is the people that they are now getting rid of to bring in people who are worse
Yeah.
for a guy that they don't even know how long is going to play for them.
Yep. And what else is also crazy to me is, a lot of the success came from last year from that defense, right? I mean, it's rare to see a top end defense be good for multiple years in a row, right? Like that's a rare thing. You see it once in a while. The 49ers have been really good the last couple of years. Your Broncos were really good for a couple of years. The Legion of Boom was really good for a couple of years. But like it's one or two defenses every couple of years. I don't think that this Jets team is going to be as good defensively next year. Like it's just statistically, it's very, very hard to do. Offense is super easy to be good year over year. But like with Rodgers tearing down the core of this young core, and then the defense is going to have to regress a little bit. Like I don't see how this team contends next year.
It's the money, right? Like
Yeah.
you're going to put all this money into Rodgers's contract and
It's like
Lazard's
$60
contract
million.
and God, did they go out and get a Cobb and an Like you're putting all this money into contracts that you don't need, and that's what's going to happen. You're good now because you have youth. You have a good youth. You know what I would give to have really good youth on my team? Like you have guys on the defense like Sauce Gardner. I don't think he should have won, but he did, right? People think he's the greatest cornerback on earth right now. You got Brees Hall, you got Garrett Wilson, you got Elijah. I mean, you have young talent that's good. Good. You know how many teams would just
Quinn Williams
kill
is
for
there.
good talent, right, and young that you can grow with. They're still in rookie deals. You know what's going to happen? All these guys are going to have contracts come up. You're going to have to start paying them, and now you're paying Alan Lazard's contract.
Yep. And you're going to be paying Mercedes Lewis's contract and Randall Cobb's like I just doesn't make any sense.
But the Mercedes Lewis thing kills me because again he's a blocking tight end, right? So if you're
Yeah.
going to go sign this guy to be a blocking tight end, that means you're going to want to be more run heavy.
Right.
Fine, but then
But
you're
you're
also
gonna
going to go
sign
get OBJ,
three
Randall Cobb, and now you have 6 wide
and
receivers.
Alan Lazard
So
plus the
are
two
you
wide receivers
are
you
you
have.
going to be run heavy or are you going to be like you don't know what you want to be anymore? You're not the New York Jets from last year. You're the New York Roger wannabes, and
The New York
it's
Packers.
it's dumb. It's dumb, and they're going to be horrible for a long time, and they're just going to continue to go downhill. Like you were going like this, and it's just a classic dumb team move.
Yeah. And one more quick thing on Aaron Rodgers before I think we move on. A lot of this whole thing with Aaron Rodgers kind of denying what he's saying is a list of demands reminds me a lot of what happened a couple of years ago with his contract extension. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, rumors leaked that it was like, hey, Aaron Rodgers wants $50 million per year for his contract extension. He came out like 2 or 3 days before he ended up signing his new extension and said, no, this isn't true. I've never asked for this. That's not why Devontae Adams is leaving. It's not because I'm asking for $50 million a year. 2 or 3 days later, $50 million a year. It's like, dude, this is exactly what was reported. You bashed the media for it. And you took the exact same contract. What are you doing? And literally this exact same thing is happening over again. I don't believe a word out of his mouth. I think he's a lying diva. We were talking about this, you and me, over a text message a little bit today. I'm not convinced that he doesn't have CTE. You think he's just going through maybe a midlife crisis of some
He's
sort.
old, man. You get to that age and you have a crisis. You gotta.
I mean, you clearly do it with your Denver Nuggets. Oh, sorry. This is a football podcast. Sorry, we'll keep going. We'll keep going.
I mean, yeah, it's just issues, man. It's issues all around, and I think the whole league and fans were just ready for the Rodgers saga to be over. And what kills me with the Jets is the saga of Rodgers is going to stick to them even after he leaves the league. They're still going to be stuck with whatever Rodgers did to them because they're too stupid to make sure that they don't, get out of their own damn way. So, yeah, it's a killer. I mean, look, my other team that I think has made some really dumb moves this offseason that is going to continue down this trend of stupidity. It's another team that somebody tried to link Rodgers to, believe it or not, but like the Raiders.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that it's not the Raiders being stupid as much as it's Josh McDaniels being stupid.
Yeah.
Because McDaniels has a track record of being stupid, but look, the Raiders also have a track record of being stupid, and then they went and hired Josh McDaniels, who's a horrible head coach, and it's all just marrying itself into this beautiful combination of dumbness.
Beautiful or ugly?
To me,
uh-huh. This is true.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, fair enough.
Me watching a team with all these aspirations of trying to be better and blah blah blah, and then they just watch them make their team worse for no reason over the offseason. Like, you downgraded all over the place. Like, what?
Quarterback?
Josh McDaniels, I love it. You know what he did? He came to Denver. He got rid of Jay Cutler. He got rid of Brandon Marshall. And I was like, this guy's a moron. And then he got fired. You know what he did? He went over here. He gets rid of Derek Carr. He gets rid of Darren Waller. He brings in Jacoby Meyer. Look, no offense to Jacoby Meyer, but
whatever.
On the list of wide receivers on that team, where is he landing? Third, fourth on the receiving options on that team? Like, yes. and you stuck the tag on Jacobs, which tells me he's probably not going to be with you for too much longer because he's not going to be happy after that. But you gave up Waller for a third. Did you see this? I don't know if you saw it. So the Giants traded for Darren Waller.
Yep.
And they gave up the 100th overall pick, which is a third-round pick, for Darren Waller. Now, those of you that don't know this, that third-round pick they acquired from the Chiefs when they traded Kadarius Toney to the Chiefs. Now, if I told you last year that you were going to be able to trade Kadarius Toney for Darren Waller, you would all tell me I'm stupid. But good news, the Raiders are stupid, so that's exactly what just happened, except they'll make some stupid pick with the 100th, so it's not even as good as getting Kadarius Toney, which is hard to say because the dude's never on the field. So, but you gave up Darren Waller, who's what? I mean, I know when we did our list of top 5, we didn't put him on there. Some injury risks and blah blah. But like, I mean,
Talent is
top
undeniable.
6. I mean, like the dude's a fantastic tight end. I mean, the dude's a freak of nature athlete. He's ridiculous, and just and Jacoby and Derek Carr for Jimmy Garoppolo.
I was gonna say, who did they replace Derek Carr with?
And look, I've defended Jimmy for
You've
a long
much.
time.
I am shocked that you're taking this dig at your boy Jimmy right now.
But here's I don't think it's a dig because I think the Jimmy is a solid quarterback. I think he's good. I think he could have gone anywhere and would have been an upgrade on pretty much every team that needed a quarterback this year. If he goes to the Jets and they don't add any of this other crap, I think the Jets are instantly a playoff team, right? Like that's what I think of Jimmy. All right. Sure. He makes a mistake here and there. Maybe he had some injury issues, but I think he's a solid quarterback. You know what? He's not Derek Carr, right? Derek Carr, to me, is top 12 quarterback in the league. Jimmy's just
top 10 guy, yeah.
Jimmy's just not that dude. There's no comparison. Nobody can come to me and say that Jimmy G and Derek Carr is an even comparison, or that you upgraded going to Jimmy Garoppolo. No. So are you saying you got Jimmy and you're going to draft somebody? I mean, they have the 7th pick, so we'll see. But the way the draft's been moving, I don't even think somebody worth anything's going to make it to 7. No. All right. So you bring in Jacoby, who's a meh wide receiver.
He's wide receiver 3 right now because I think on that depth chart they're going to have Adams 1, Renfrow 2. With Waller out of there, he's probably going to be the 3rd receiving option, but
I guess
it's still a weird fit because to me, I don't know, man. I always think of Jacoby Myers as more of a slot guy, but that's what
Renfrow is a very good slot receiver.
Right.
So you're not.
So who are they putting in the slot?
You can't not put Renfrow in the slot. Well, I mean, you can because that would be a dumb move.
I mean, this is Josh McDaniels we're talking about.
I mean, like, I don't. Bro, I don't know. Like, that's when they signed Jacoby. Like, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, how does this move make sense? Like, there are always teams every year that make moves where you're like, what the hell? And there are times that teams sign players, and I'm like, I think you could have gotten somebody better, you know? But like, what? Like, look, the Miami Dolphins just re-signed all of their running backs back again instead of getting guys that are clearly better that are still on the free agency market, right? But look, you're familiar with them. I'm not saying those guys are bad, so like, that's not a stupid move. But this is a dumb move. You don't need a wide receiver. You had other issues. So you downgraded quarterback. You chased him off. You benched him for Stidham, which is the guy that McDaniels traded to bring in. So you alienate,
they let go of.
Right. So you alienate the quarterback who's bled silver and black for you, for your new coach, who trades for a guy to bring in, who he then starts over, who then walks in free agency to a rival, okay? Mind you, goes to a rival. So now you bring in Jimmy G, who you have a connection with. Massive downgrade, right? As good as Jimmy G is, in my opinion, he's not Derek Carr. So now you've downgraded. Good job, McDaniels. So whatever plan you thought you had, it's not there, all right? And then you go sign a wide receiver that you're not going to use unless you get rid of one of your better options. Like, it's like the same issue with the Jets. Like, you already have players that are good. Why are you bringing in players that are worse to play in a position you don't have a need for? Like, the idea in free agency is to fill the holes that you have and upgrade positions that you're weak at, not sign a bunch of players in positions that you're strong at. Like, the Raiders, on a list of problems they have, at the bottom of that list is wide receiver and running back, right? And what did you do? You went and signed a wide receiver. Like, that literally would be where my list would start. It'd probably be like wide receiver, running back, tight end. Yeah, tight end, right? Like, those are your 3. Like, running back, went with the tight. And what you traded the tight end, you tagged your running back, and then you signed a wide receiver you don't need.
And you alienated your best quarterback you've had in my lifetime, probably.
And they're not going to run 3 wide, all right? Because, like, Adams is not coming off the field, all right? You're not going to run 3 wide because Jimmy G
have to.
But that's not Jimmy's play style. Never has he been an outside the numbers big.
Oh, sure. You don't think guy. I know that? I don't think he's very good. I know that.
But everybody has a skill set, right? Like, I'm saying that he's not that type of he's never been that type of quarterback. He doesn't perform. Like, you put him in the right system, he's good enough to succeed, right? But like, he's not a gunslinger. Like, and you can see it even looking at how they played in San Fran when he got hurt, because Brock Purdy was better outside the numbers with bigger wide receivers than he was. That didn't mean that they couldn't have gone to the same exact spot in the playoffs with Jimmy as they did the year before. he wasn't hands off a couple of like that's you're not going three wide. What are you doing with Jacoby Myers? What are you doing? Like I don't have a problem with
They're
them
going 3 wide.
bringing.
It would be a dumb move.
And I don't have a problem with them bringing in Jimmy, with the exception with the fact that you chased off Derek Carr. Like how does that mean? And it's not like they had problems prior, right? Like this is a you hiring McDaniels problem, right?
Dude,
Like you didn't have a problem with Derek. Like Derek would have died for you. Like,
yeah,
but you picked McDaniels, who's proven what to you?
nothing.
Nothing.
He's proven nothing to the league as being anything outside of a prodigy, a prospect of Tom Brady, right? Like that seems to be the reputation he's living off of. Is that, well, to be honest, it's kind of what the whole New England Patriots are living off of. Is the fact that Tom Brady was so good for so long that everybody keeps getting jobs and none of them ever work out. And Josh McDaniels is just another one of those guys. And it's just really dumb. It's a dumb move. He's a bad head coach. I don't know. I don't know if his offense was fairly good last year, right? Like he had
some people are offensive guys, some people are defensive guys, some people are head coaches. He's not a head coach. He's not a personnel guy.
Oh,
but they want to hire his buddy from New England to be the GM, and then they wonder why their entire like this team already had problems because all the owner did was draft the fastest and strongest people in the draft, regardless of their actual ability to play football, which doesn't work to build a football team, right? And now you're going to couple that with adding in a guy who's not a good head coach who all he does is destroy rosters everywhere that he goes. Like he literally like, and it'd be one thing if like the Raiders were good, because there's always been this conspiracy, right? That he doesn't actually want to be a head coach. Like he just like goes out into the NFL and like sabotages the team for a couple years, gets fired, goes back to work under Bill Belichick, right? And then a few years later, like they do it again, like, and that's what he does, right? Like he pulled out on the Colts last minute, he destroyed the Broncos, and it would make sense except the Raiders were already horrible. So you're not destroying anything that was any good in the first place. You're just like making a team that was already not very good worse. Like they were a playoff team the year before he got there.
That's what's mind-blowing to me.
And now they're worse, and he's getting worse because that talent level is not as good as it was the year that he took over, and they're worse.
No, and what's mind-boggling is going back to 13 months ago when they were a playoff team, is they did that in the midst of the whole John Gruden situation, right? Like John Gruden was having his issues off the field. So he gets fired midway through the season. So they then bring in the interim head coach. What was he, the OC, the DC, or the special teams coordinator?
It's a special teams guy.
Special teams coordinator, okay. So they bring up the special teams coordinator. They then, and they were on the outside looking in on the playoffs. They then go on the Chargers. They beat the Chargers in a ludicrous game where Justin Herbert puts on the Superman cape, converts like a 4th and 20 from the goal line or whatever, right? And like, you know, they just fantastic game. They win it. They make the playoffs under this interim head coach from the special teams side. And instead of giving that guy the head coaching job, they get McDaniels, who has proven in the past that he's a terrible head coach with the Broncos. And the year before, or whatever, 2 years before that, whatever it was, he pulled out on the Colts like a snake in the grass. Like I don't like him as a person for, you know, like NFL reasons. Like he doesn't come across as a good guy. He's kind of sleazy. He's run off your franchise quarterback. He's objectively made your team worse. And even though, despite last year, they went out and made some moves that made their team better on paper, they still somehow regressed, right? They went out, they got Khalil Mack. They had an extra year of, you know, a handful of these guys getting a little bit more healthy and, you know, learning, you know, just being around in the league a little bit longer. And somehow they got worse. Josh McDaniels, to me, while he might not be the worst head coach in NFL history, that might go down to like Freddie Kitchens or something like that. He's definitely one of the most embarrassing. He has one of the most embarrassing head coaching resumes I think I've ever seen. Like it's bad.
It just, again, this is a topic for the day, right? Like how dumb teams do dumb shit and it makes them continue to be crap franchises. Like this is a team that made moves last year to put the talent on a field that should put them in a contention. Look, in a highly contested division.
Dude, this
and
division this year was
they're
supposed to be
bad,
fantastic. And
and
yeah,
they're just bad. Like, and now they're worse. Like, like they're worse than they were. So like you're getting worse. I'm pretty. Didn't they sign Calais Campbell too, or was that the Chargers? It might
I
have been
don't
the
know. I know
Chargers.
he was released. I didn't see where he
He's
went.
anyway. He got cut. But I'm just like, but you've gotten worse. And like I look at teams and I look at like where are your star pieces, right? Like you have to have stars and you have to try and keep your stars around, right? And like
You have two. You have Josh. You have two. You have your running back and your wide receiver, Adams and
would
Jacobs.
be and then on the defense they got one guy, right? But
Matt is who you're talking about?
Max Crosby.
Oh, all right, cool. Yep,
Gotta give that boy credit,
yep,
right?
yep, yep, yep,
But
yep.
I just watch you go. Are you had pieces in place? Like you want to, and you're if you're a new head coach, you're trying to install McDaniel's system. Wouldn't you want a guy and consistency there? Like
Thanks.
I don't know, man. Like it just again, it doesn't make sense to me. I get I don't get paid money to be an NFL head coach, but I can see him to look at this and go, "This is a horrible decision. You're being stupid." And at the end of it, they're a worse team than they were before, right? Like you're not going to be better than
Yep.
the Chiefs again this year. You're not going to be better than the
Nope.
Chargers again this year. I don't know
Nope.
what Denver's going to look like this year, but I can tell you one thing: the only reason that Denver was as bad as they were, because even as bad as they've been, they've still been like a not 7, 8, 9 win team most of the time, right? So you add in Sean Payton and let's say hypothetically Russ is as bad as he was last year, okay?
Yep.
They're going to bench him come what, week 6, week 7, and
Uh,
they're going to start Stidham, who the Raiders traded for and was McDaniel's boy. They're going to start him in a Sean Payton offense. And if you
and
don't
look
think that
confident.
Sean Payton will get to look, I don't think that they're going to win anything. But if you don't think that that team can be better than this Raiders team, and you're back to the worst team in the division again, and no aspirations of getting better.
Yeah.
And if I don't know what they're gonna like what are you gonna draft some scrub quarterback at 7 because all the other guys are gone?
I don't even
You're
know.
gonna try and bring in a McDaniel's option to try and teach one of them. Like who's gonna be left over, right?
I don't think so, man. They gave Jimmy a 3-year deal or whatever. I don't think that they have any intentions on moving on this year. I think maybe next year they may try to move up in a draft or something, but I don't think this year they have any aspirations whatsoever.
Yeah, hey, look, maybe then they're going to be bad enough again. They'll probably be drafted in the top 10 again. So it's, I mean, it's there. You got shots. I mean, I guess when you're going to be bad every year, you got shots at it. But again, here's a team that we know is look. I mean, look at the Browns. They were horrible forever because they could never get it right. Right? They could never find the right guys. And the Raiders are that same team, right? Like you get pieces and not only did you finally start putting pieces together, right? Which is more than a lot of these other teams can say.
You're now
But then you start
telling
fucking
them and
those
trading them.
you start fucking those pieces up. All right, I got one last dumb team before we move on for the day, and I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this. I just really got to get it out there because it aggravates me on some levels. But I want to say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are dumb. All right, this is a team that hasn't been very good for a long time. They convinced Tom Brady to come down there. They were great for 2 years. He's retired. He's gone. I get it. You're not going to replace Tom Brady. All right, but Mike Evans is just an elite wide receiver who's received 1,000 yards receiving every year of his career. And of all the quarterback options that you had out there this year, your choice was to wait, and sign Baker Mayfield. Like
Yep.
if I looked at every team that signed a quarterback this year and said who has better receiving weapons, all right, and I were to compare them
I just said the
to
Raiders at first.
Bucks, right? So, but let's play this game. Would you rather? Would you rather have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, all right, or Michael Thomas and Chris Olave?
Well, Michael Thomas can't stay healthy, so yeah, we're going with the Bucks.
Okay. Would you rather have those two guys or Garrett Wilson and Alan Lazard?
Ooh, Alan Lazard. Wow, he is so not that good. We're gonna go with the Bucks.
All right. Would you rather have those two guys or Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel?
Curtis, I'm not gonna disrespect Curtis. I think he's a nice receiver, but
I do too.
the quality is not there. It is still clearly the Bucks. All I'm getting at, I don't want to disrespect Curtis Samuel.
When you have A's and A's and two, I mean, look, I think Curtis Samuel's good. I think they're good.
Yeah,
they're not okay. If you had, I guess the Raiders had one. If you had Adams and Renfro, or Godwin and Evans, where would you go?
Give me the Bucks if I'm being honest. Like they've done it
That's
longer.
a conversation,
Yeah, that's a conversation,
I
man.
think that's a lot closer than
Yeah,
every other one. But
absolutely.
okay, um, and we knew they were out on one of the top quarterback options, so that could have worked in your favor, right? I'm trying to think. Well, so the Panthers traded their only wide receiver, so they're out now.
Yep.
Um, hey,
The Saints.
Brandon Cooks
Mm,
and Robert Woods.
mm.
No, not going there.
Well,
Okay.
first off, one of them might not be there in about 48 hours.
Well,
We'll
they're
see.
going to draft somebody. So, like, I mean, but you look at these guys and like you could have had an option at like you had to fix some offensive line issues, sure, but you could have offered a Jimmy G or somebody like a decent enough contract that you have somebody who can come in and play. Fuck, I'd have taken Andy Dalton over Baker Mayfield, and you let him take a backup, what's going to end up being a backup role in Carolina. You
I don't know if I'd
no,
have taken Andy Dalton over him.
I would absolutely take Andy
The
Dalton over Baker Mayfield.
only reason I say that is because Andy Dalton is so much older, and like we know what Andy Dalton is. At least with Baker, we've seen Baker be good, bad, good, awful, and then like up. Like at least Baker's younger and he has some highs and lows. Andy Dalton's just kind of consistently mediocre. So I don't know.
Andy Dalton made AJ Green put up 1,500-yard seasons. I get he's getting older, but he had
Stop. Did you just say he made AJ Green's career essentially? Is that what you were hinting at?
no. AJ Green was an elite wide receiver,
Okay.
but I'm saying Mike Evans is an elite wide receiver, so
Okay.
he could have continued as stretch. Look,
Hmm.
Baker Mayfield couldn't make Odell good.
No. No, he
Okay,
made Odell bad.
now what was Odell? Run down the field, catch crazy contested balls. What does Mike Evans do? Run down the field, catch big contested balls. All right. This is a guy who already has issues with his attitude. He's got issues with his mentality, and now you're going to put him where they have a beat up offensive line,
Yeah.
and he's 6 feet tall, and I get it's an insane like one of his contract lines had better read Mike Williams has 1,000 yards receiving, so you get paid $1 million because if it doesn't, then I hate everything about the Bucks. All
Yeah,
right.
no, I mean, and look, if we're being a little bit honest about Mike Evans, like he's clearly on the decline. He's clearly not like, the 1,000 yards that he's putting up now isn't the same that what he was doing before. Like before it was 1,200, 1,200, 1,000, 1,500, 1,200. Now he's kind of on the tail end and it's more like, 1,100, 1,000 and change, 1,000 and change. So first off, so he's clearly on the
I
decline. No,
don't
no, stop. I'm just trying to make a point. Because my point is, I think prime Mike Evans could still get 1,000 yards with Baker Mayfield. I think with Mike Evans on the decline that he is, I think he's going to miss 1,000 yards for the first time with Baker Mayfield. That's all I'm trying to say.
And for that reason, the Buccaneers join the list of dumb teams this offseason. So, look, it's really just for that. They're definitely not in the same category as the Raiders and the Jets this year.
If I'm being honest, I think I'd have the Patriots above them for dumb things. The Patriots have just been continuing to blow my mind year over year after Tom Brady's left. But
yeah, I mean, I think that the Patriots have made some dumb moves, but I think Bill is a good enough coach that they'll be. I don't think they win the division, but they'll be able to
they
screw with
certainly
enough
don't.
teams to do whatever. So,
Dude,
and look, I mean, I think that's always been their forte as well. I mean, like they've always made decisions that made you scratch your head, like, hey, let's get some weapons for Tom Brady. No, and then you still win the Super Bowl. All right, cool. Like, and I get that part of that's Tom Brady,
that's kind of my
but
point.
I get part of it's Tom Brady, but to the other side of it, I mean, look, what did they do this year? They signed a running back that I don't think they needed, and they didn't need to sign, which I think was stupid. And then they signed Juju, which I mean, at the end of the day, like they signed Juju over Jacoby. Like, would you rather have Juju or Jacoby?
I'd rather have Jacoby.
I'd rather have Juju. So,
I don't like TikTok Boy too much personally. But
I don't either. But I think he is a better talent than.
I agree, he's a better talent.
And I think that he would.
You think him and Bill are going to get along? You don't think that's going to cause any issues?
Oh, I think he's going to learn real quick what it's like to be on the Patriots.
He very well may until he wins one game and then he tries to act the fool doing TikTok dances on the center.
And then he will not play for 6 weeks. So he'll be running laps in the snow.
So then I'd rather have Jacoby at that point because what's the point of having a guy who's not playing?
Oh, he'll learn. I don't know. So, but yeah, those are my dumb teams. I think the two easily take the cake this year.
Jets and Raiders.
Yeah, I mean it's really it's McDaniels and it's Rodgers. Those are the dumb things. These teams are going all in on two people that they probably don't need to go all in on the way that they're doing it, and it's going to set their entire franchises back, which is what they keep doing. So, a way to keep going and being a crap franchise, and we'll continue to watch you draft at the top because you're going to continue to be crap.
Well, hey, look, maybe they'll trade away those really good draft picks to some other really good teams. So we'll see.
Yeah, if not, they're going to draft somebody and then not use them, like with the case of the
Yeah.
Jets.
Well, hey, look, and look, even when they do have top 5 draft picks, we've seen what Gruden did, drafting Cleveland Farrell number 4 or whatever that monstrosity of a stretch was. We all knew that was a weird one. So
Yeah, he got cut. He got
yeah,
cut.
yeah, that was a bust, and we all knew that was going to be a bust. So hey, look, man, even top end draft picks might not be able to save the stupidity of these teams. So we'll see.
They absolutely won't. That's why these teams continue to be crap. So, well, it was a fun time. I had a good time today. I love talking about how bad some of these teams are, especially when it takes some attention about how bad my team has been. So, um, hey, at least I know that we'll be better than both of them in the next coming years. Trajectories. We're going up. They're going down. That's all I care about. So, thanks for joining us today, guys. Hopefully, you had a good time, and we'll talk to you next time.